So Owen Heary, League of Ireland legend, you're very welcome to the Bulletproof Dad podcast. How are you, sir?
Not too bad, Andrew. Thanks very much for having me.
Delighted to have you in, man. So look, I want to start, there's loads I want to get through, so I want to hit the ground running here. I'd love to start back to young Owen and find out what he was like as a young lad growing up on the north side of Dublin. Can you take us back there to begin with?
God, yeah, I suppose I grew up in Finglas and then moved to Cabra for a while. So moved to Cabra when I was probably about 8-9 years of age. Shy lad, always had a ball under my arm, always out wanting to play football. Didn't join a team till I was probably 12, 13 years of age. And that was because a mate of mine, his dad, had set up a team up in the Bogies up in Cabra called St. Brendan's, at the time.
Yeah.
And we went and played for them, and then I went on to Banno, went to play for Rivermount for a little bit, half a season, and I was obviously centre forward.
Okay, yeah, that's you start off, yeah.
Yeah, centre forward, and then I put back into defence then as my career progressed, and maybe it was the case because I wasn't scoring enough goals, so I was put back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so young fella, ball under my arm all the time, and then always wanting to play football.
And was everyone out in the streets just kicking the ball at the time, or was it in your family's DNA, or was it just playing with friends? How did it kind of the influence came from?
I mean, I was palling around where there was 20 lads and 20 girls at the time. About 40 was all palled around together back then, and we had a 5-side pitch in the Nard Estate, and every day you'd have roads playing against roads or picking teams, and the games would go on to be 10-all. Next minute it'd be next goal to win, or that goal would go in. Oh, you had to win by 2.
Whoever on the football,
exactly. And it'll be going on all day. And that was back then. I suppose that was the thing. You were always playing either pats, posts, or football on the pitch, or even I don't remember there'll be tennis courts and be playing boxes, or trying to hit the crossbar, all that sort of thing. So it sort of progressed through then. And I was always playing them with the older lads. I was probably the youngest one, so a lot of them were a couple of years older than me. We played 5-a-side and 7-a-side in the bogies. They used to run as well, so it was always a good upbringing. I do remember, how do you say about being young and playing football, that I was going up to play a match, and I was a little bit late for the match, I thought, and I was in that mood where I was like, I'm not going to go up. I was walking up on my own. I ended up coming home, and my ma said to me, well, what are you doing? She said, I said, I'll just leave. I won't bother going up. She threw me into the back of the car, grabbed me, brought me straight back up. And that was probably a defining moment, because I think if I didn't go up, I would have just sat at home and not gone up the following week, got up the train like that. So I suppose in a way, my ma dragging me back up and getting me back.
It's interesting, like the influences you have. Like, and what age bracket would you have been then?
I was probably 13, 14 at the time.
Young
enough to, as I say, you're going up to play a match, your bag's over your shoulder, and you feel that little bit intimidated that you're late, that someone might say something to you. It's a case, I'll leave it. I'll pretend I'm not well, or I missed it, or whatever it was. But now, as soon as I got home, into the car, go up there and make sure you play the match. And
cool. And would she have had an influence then, like kind of encouraging you and pushing you on?
Yeah, my mum did. And as my career went on, she'd turn up the matches, she'd come down to Shells, she'd come down to Bowes. A lot of the supporters would know her down there. You could be with them, and I could tell you stories from travelling away where she said she wasn't going and she was turned up on the flights. So I had to say that's
a whole other added pressure.
I tell you about them. Some good stories, but as I said, I always encouraged by my family to play football. My dad used to play with Columbians out here, out in Coolock, and he'd bring me out, and one of the days, again, they were short players. This is a senior league, men's league.
He played with Columbians while living in Cabra still.
And I was only, as I said, I was only 13 probably at the time, and they were men, and they were short a player. And one fella said, look, will you just jump on there? And I'm like, no boots or nothing. And he gave me a size 11 football boots. I was like a clown running around. But as I said, they threw me into those games, and because you're playing against physically stronger people, you were getting smacks left, right and centre, but I was a lot quicker. So I made up for it one way. It was always my dad say, look, just make sure you pass the ball and run as quick as you can so you don't get kicked.
Don't give him time to smash
exactly.
it.
So I was always encouraged to play football,
And then going from there, like playing schoolboy, the transition then into senior, can you remember that? Can you talk us through that? Because obviously you're growing, you're getting through the years. You must discover at some point, I have a bit of a talent here. I'm getting good at this.
No, I'll be honest. No, I was, as I said, I was playing then for the Nard Estate. They started up a team, but again, they were a men's team, and I was 15 at the time, 15 years of age, and we were playing, and we were doing all right against senior players, and over the 15 acres in the park, you're talking about 40 teams would turn up every Sunday and Saturday to play games, and you don't know who you're playing to that day, and you'd go out and you'd play the games, and after they'd be down the pub, and obviously I was too young to drink, I'd be down there having a 7-up while all these old lads are drinking away.
There's a few people sniggering at that, listen
probably,
to this,
but no, that was sort of that was into the, I suppose, senior football is in men's football.
Yeah.
You know, I said I played schoolboy for a little bit, and then more into senior football.
Because that's a big melting pot, really, when you think about it. Like, that probably wouldn't be encouraged these days, you know, to throw a 15-year-old into a men's game, you know. So, like, it's definitely make or break for someone at that age, you know.
And that's why, you know, you look and you laugh at when people say, oh no, they're too young to play 16s under 18s. And I'm like, well, 16, I was playing League of Ireland.
Yeah.
You know, against men who are, football back then was a lot more physical, a lot more, they'd get away with certain stuff.
I'd love to talk about that and kind of how you've seen the game evolve over the years, because your first step to senior football was Kilkenny, was that right?
It was, yeah.
So what age bracket were you there when you signed for them?
I was 16.
Yeah.
John Cleary, who played for Dundalk, he scored a cup final actually for Dundalk. The winner, should I say, for the cup final for Dundalk a long time ago. But he was doing a little coaching course, and he came to Ayr State and said, look, just get a few lads, we'll go over to the polo grounds to Phoenix Park, put a match on, I'll put a coaching session on for you. And there we were playing away, and he seen me and another fella, Eamon George, and he said, look, do you want to join CIE Ranch? At the time, I hadn't a clue who CIE Ranch even were, you know, obviously in Ballyfermot, or should I say Inchicore. So we said, oh yeah, look, we'll go over and do it. And then he got the Kilkenny job that week.
Okay, yeah.
So he said to us, look, don't worry about the ranch, I'm going to bring you down to Kilkenny with me. He said, make sure you have a shirt and a tie and a pair of trousers. And I'm like, 16 years of age, you know, not having any of this. And so I was telling my man's like, oh, right, where he's going? I was saying Kilkenny, like, how he's getting down? I said, oh, bus is picking us up at the West County. So grand. Got landed me dad's shirt, tie,
swimming on you.
Hanging on me. They have a picture, and I seen the picture of it on, it's still hanging on me. But off I went, me and Eamon went down on the little minibus down to Kilkenny.
Was there a few other Dublin lads on the team? Or?
Most of them were Dublin lads.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the majority were Dublin lads. Only a couple of lads from Kilkenny that are...
There's not many footballers in Kilkenny. They even struggle to put a GA team together.
Yeah, well...
They're all into Ireland.
They're all... Exactly. Yeah. So went down to Buckley Park, seeing the place, nice little stadium.
Yeah.
But a real eye-opener for me, like, you know, big time. I said, you had senior players like John Rayner. Now, John Rayner was a big fella, like, as in, you know, width-wise, big. Yeah. Couldn't get the ball on him. Physically strong. You know, John Cleary himself, who put a gum shield in when he was playing. Like,
right,
you know, like, what's going on
here? You're going to war there.
Yeah, Jimmy Donnelly, who'd take his teeth out. You know, with false teeth. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh God, what's going on here? Austin Brady, Captain Caveman, they called him. So we end up signing there. Eamon played came down for a couple of training sessions, but ended up leaving. So sort of on my own. Yeah. Went down there, played for DCU then as the second team.
Okay, were you studying there? Or
they asked me to play for them because, you know, I wouldn't be playing regular football for Kilkenny.
How did Kilkenny look? You're obviously just commuting up and down from Dublin. You weren't staying down there?
No, we were training in Dublin. Yeah. Majority were Dublin people, so we'd train in Dublin and then we'd go down there on the weekend to play a game. We'd go into Kilford Arms, tea and toast before the match. That was
a pre-match.
All open, all new to me, like, you know. And then I remember John Cleary coming up to me, handing me £30 after the match, and I'm like, what's that for? He said, that's for travelling expenses and coming down. And I was like, getting paid to play football.
Deadly, yeah.
You know, £30. Yeah. You mightn't think it's a lot, but for
back
a
16-year-old,
someone giving you money to come down and kick a ball about, whereas when you were a schoolboy, you're paying to play football.
That was every 16-year-old's dream, wasn't it? I know it was mine, you know. To try
exactly. And we played Cardiff that year. I was on the sideline watching, and we beat them 3-2. And this is Cardiff, an English team, you know. And like, this is a real eye opener for me, but really enjoyable.
Did they come out to Kilkenny for a friendly? They came down to
Kilkenny for a friendly. Class, It was a good experience all around. Like I said, good senior pros there that I would have looked up to at the time. And then even I sort of noticed that when I was getting into the team, one of the senior pros was being left on the bench and wasn't too happy with that. Basically, his career was coming to an end. Yeah. Mine was only starting. So,
well, that's we've spoken with this with many lads in that chair there about the melting pot of the dressing room. You know, it's cool to have everybody working together to win a game, but there's all these little dynamics going on.
Massive,
You might talk about this more in your management career. So, like, from Kilkenny then, it was to go to home farm. You were back in Dublin then. Was it 1 year in Kilkenny you did?
Yeah, it was basically half a year in Kilkenny. And then I was on a FOSS course up in home farm.
Yeah, the football course.
The football course, yeah. And I think that's when thing turned around to me, Liam Toohey, and asked me would I sign for home farm for the League of Ireland team.
He was a manager there, was he?
He wasn't a manager. He was the sort of...
He kind of ran the club for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So I was him and Han, and I said, yeah, okay, because John Cleary had left Kilkenny then, and all the Dublin players were told he could leave.
Okay, right.
But I was the only Dublin player that asked come back and play for them.
Right, okay, yeah.
Now, on that, I couldn't go down. wasn't driving,
Yeah.
wasn't able to make it down myself, so it was a no-brainer for me.
No motorway back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No-brainer for me to sign for Home Farm
Yeah.
then, you know. So again, I signed up there, and
They were Division 1.
Division 1, yeah.
Yeah, was that where Kilkenny were as well at the
Yeah.
time? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's obviously where they see me playing.
Yeah.
Was playing against the likes of Home Farm
And
then
how,
the first
so
division
you're
games.
17 then at this stage, and you've signed for Home Farm.
Just going 17.
And how does that look like then? You're still living at home as a part-time footballer? What's
it's part-time
like?
football. Train Tuesday, Thursday, play a match on a Sunday. We were playing at the time. So part-time football. I had a little job then as well, so which was grand. So I was getting a few quid for work, and I was getting a few quid for playing football.
Did it clash, or were they always separate?
No, do you know what? Even if work clashed back then, I would have picked football.
Yeah.
Do you know? So if someone told me, oh no, you're staying to 6 and my training was at 6, I'd have been, no, look, I'm going training.
Yeah.
It was always more football orientated than work orientated.
Yeah.
I suppose the fact that I'm living at home and, you know, having
Yeah,
mum
definitely,
and dad there, not having to pay any bills.
That
and things
helps.
like that.
It definitely does at that age, you know,
yes.
where like ignorance is bliss sometimes.
Exactly,
at that age.
yeah.
But when you were at, like, when you got that, going back to that Kilkenny incident when you got handed the 30 quid or whatever, could you see yourself thinking, fuck, I can make a living out of this? Or
no,
was it just,
never.
that was just a nice thing
just
to
nice,
happen?
yeah. It's just like, there you go. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, you know, not expecting it. And then, you know, you're telling me, man, look, I'm at getting £30 for going down to
kicking football.
For kicking the ball around. And sometimes I wasn't even playing.
Yeah.
You know, and they're giving you that. And it was nice. And, you know, you see the fellas then getting their few quid and you're like, it's great. But would have been no inkling into saying, oh, I'll make a career out of this and I'll have money every week. And no, none of that like at that age. Just wanted to play football. That's
kind of rare because, like, you know, most people you speak to, there's kind of a standard pathway for most footballers in Dublin where it's kind of, you play in the DDSL league and most of them kind of all play against each other. It's just kind of same clubs most kids grow up with. Whereas, like, you've basically come off the streets there nearly, haven't you? Straight into senior football.
Yeah, I wasn't.
And into professional football.
I wasn't,
it's not your conventional route. Like,
no, and I wasn't into watching football games.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be one to sit there on a Saturday and watch, you know, if there's a match on the telly and things like that. I'm still not like that, you know. I just wanted to go out, kick a ball around, just enjoy that part of it. I said I came into football late, so it was more street football, as you said, and then into senior football straight away. But as in, not into, you know, I'll get to England or I'll get a few quid for this. Or
would you have had any friends or people you knew in school or growing up that maybe went across who were doing that sort of thing? Like,
probably not. No, not at the time. Like, in school, I mean, the Brogans were in my school, and I remember being in Deadlands.
As in the Dublin footballers.
Yeah, the Dublin footballers, and you know, it was Richie Partridge was in.
Oh, very
good.
He's
probably younger than me now.
But footballer as well. Yeah.
I remember in the likes of Declan's, I was playing football, hurling, Gaelic, the whole lot, and this teacher came in. He only actually joined the school, and he said, he came out to me. He said, "Look, either pick football or hurling. Football or Gaelic. And if you pick football, you won't play a sport in the school again."
Serious,
and I was like, hold on a minute. So I end up picking football.
Staunch GA man, so was
he?
Yeah,
I end up picking football for it, like, you know.
Yeah.
I told the football teacher, and he's like, "I'm not having that." So he had a Barney over it.
Because it was an English sport, because it was...
No, I just think he was so much into Gaelic, whereas, you know, sometimes football and Gaelic clashed in school where there'd be a match on here and a match on there, and he wanted me to play Gaelic, and I'd be picking the football, like, and, you know, if you forget your gear, you're going home to collect your gear and coming back. And it's only, I'd say, 10, 15 years later, the same teacher asked me for my jersey.
Serious? That's nice. So,
as I said, it's just, at that time, I can understand why he was doing it.
But I think a few people have referenced similar. I remember Johnny Giles, I think, even said, obviously he's gone way back, but he was the same thing. He got an awful lot of stick from teachers in school and stuff for playing the English game, as it was called back then. Like, you know. So
now, in fairness, John Caffrey was my teacher as well, so ex-Dublin.
Right.
And very encouraging. I still seen him. He retired from school only a couple of years ago, but still seeing him, and he's, you know, you could have made it as a guy player. I'm like, no, but I enjoy the football side.
This is actually very similar chat with Dinny Corker and the same thing, who you know quite well. We might get into it in a little bit as well. Because he had a call from Dublin at one stage when he was playing, and he was like, no, I just prefer football so much more. I just want to focus on that.
As a schoolboy as well, I'd say just let kids play whatever they want to play. And I played in Croker twice from schoolboys, and you know, I just enjoyed playing sport. And
not being in a classroom.
And someone, as I said, I wasn't probably academic, but it was more sport orientated. Even though I looked back on one of my reports and I said, Owen is too robust in PE. And I'm like, what's that about? But like I said, it's just, I think, encourage kids to play as many sports as they want, and just let them make their own decisions.
Funny how you kind of basically made a career out of that then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So you were a couple of years at home farm. Can you talk us through what that experience was like? Because that probably nurtured you. That's your late teens going into your early 20s. Was it 3 or 4 years there?
Oh, it was 4 years there, yeah. We started out again, we'd a decent team for the first division, you know, with Liam Kelly was there, John Kelly, Stephen McGuinness, like, you know, we had a half decent team. And I remember we won the Shield. We played Cove in a two-legged Shield game. It's actually the last time the Shield was played. I scored from the halfway line on home farm, you know, and
on the home farm pitch there.
On the home farm
played,
pitch, yeah. You know, and I think we won the first game 2-0. Then we went down to Cove and we beat them down there and we lifted the Shield. And I was captain and I was delighted, like, you know.
What age were you as captain?
Oh, I think I was made captain probably when I was about 18. Steve McGuinness was captain for a while, and then I was made captain then after that. Like, so
that's that's
fairly
senior
young
team, very young to be captain.
Very young, and we had Everton on our
it was home farm Everton, wasn't it?
I was home farm first, and then home farm Everton. And we actually played home farm in an FAI Cup game. The first time the two teams had ever met. So
they were separate, were they? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what it was. Started at home farm first, and then Everton came in, put money in. I remember Liam Toohey saying, "This is going to be the club to play for in the years to come.
Yeah.
We're going to build new stadium. We're getting this in. We're getting that in." Following year, John Cody signed for us, Peter Eccles signed for us, like really top quality players. Dermot Keeley was managing as well, and there was a bit more money in the club.
Did he make you captain, Dermot Keeley? Because obviously he's a legend himself, in the league.
Dermot did. Martin Bailey was manager at one stage, and he went. Then Dermot came in, and again Dermot brought some quality players in with him.
Yeah,
you know, we got promoted that year in the league, in the relegation playoff. We were 2-0 up at home, and we said, we should easily beat these at Lone. All of a sudden, then we were heading down, and Steve McGuinness had bottles of champagne in the bag, the whole lot. You know, this is going to be easy.
Game,
20 minutes into the game, we're 2-0 down, and we were like, what's going on here? But we end up drawing the game and winning on penalties. Right. So McGuinness is popping the champagne, and Keeley went ballistic. He said, "If I'd have known you had that in your bag, you'd have been thrown off the bus." So thankfully we got through and we got promoted.
Did you take a penalty yourself? Can you remember?
No, I didn't take one. Okay. No chance of me taking penalties.
That's the attackers.
Leave them to the good players. And the following year, then we end up playing Premier football, but got relegated.
Okay.
You know, now we had a decent team on paper, but unfortunately we got relegated.
Was there a big Was there a massive jump in standards going from the first division? Yeah,
I think so. We played Derry City, and Steve Archibald had signed for us.
Okay,
Steve Archibald, ex-Spurs,
with
Barcelona.
Yeah.
So he came over, he's 40 odd years of age now at this stage, and we're like, give him the ball, like, you know, this fella's played at the highest level. Him and a fella called, I think it was Alan Snodden, the Cyclops, played in Scotland.
Okay, right.
So like that, every time we got the ball, give it to him. But we were playing Derry City. Derry City were going for the treble, they were top of the table.
Okay.
They absolutely battered us. They beat us 3-0 or something on the day. Half time in the match, in the dressing room, next minute, Keeley, "Stephen, off you come," you know. And so Steve McGuinness is taking his top off, and Keeley looks at him, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, just you told me to grab." "Not you, Archibald, you. Get your gear."
The big star, basically,
out of here, and threw him out at half time. Told him to get the plane home.
To fly home, did he?
Told him, get the plane home, get the boat, get up, gone. Right. Half time, and I said, I don't think anyone ever spoke to Steve Archibald like that in his life.
Yeah, Jesus Christ,
real eye opener, because Dermot was like that, you know. He said it the way it was. Great man manager, great, you know, tactics as manager. He was very, very good.
What do you think wound him up so much? Was it the lack of a work ethic, maybe?
That's exactly it. You know, you're getting paid well, you should be doing a job, like, you know. And Dermot was one of these that he knew how to get the best out of me as well. Like he knew what buttons to press to wind me up, to get me, you know, fuming to going into matches. Like we played Rosenberg, and Rosenberg were beating. There was a man, Sorensen, I was marking, destroyed me, like, you know.
This is a home farm you're playing?
No, this is later on in my career.
Yeah.
And after the match, or the following leg, we were playing over in Norway, and Dermot goes to me, so Sorensen's out, he's pushing a pram down the town, has the kid in it, because he said it's going to be a handy match tonight and all this. And he had me fuming before the game that when I went out, I kicked lumps out Sorensen. I'm absolutely bad. We ended up drawing the game 1-1 over there. And I'm sure he's looking and saying, what's this fella doing, kicking lumps out me all the time? But it's just Dermot's way, like, and it was like that at home farm. He knew exactly how to get players working hard and to do the.
He took you to Shells then, did he? Or did you go to Shells first?
No, he went to Shells, and he took Damien Marr, Stephen Gifford, and Graham Doyle. Didn't ask me to go to Shells. So a couple of months later, he rings me. He said, "Look, you want to sign for Bray?" I'm like, was gutted, like, you know. And I was like, well, no, I don't really want to go out to Bray. I'll stay here at home farm. Happy enough staying here at home farm.
It was Bray First Division and
First Division the same, yeah. And he said, "Oh, but Devil, you know, likes you and blah blah blah. Wants to sign you." I said, "Oh no, look, I'll stick it out here." And then he gives me a call a couple of weeks later. And I said, "Look, I want you to come in to Shells to put pressure on Desi Baker as an outside right." Now he was playing me outside right for home farm, but I was a right full.
Okay,
and he knew that. And I said it to him. He goes, "Yeah, but I still want you to just put a bit of pressure on him." So I actually took a pay cut on to Shells.
Did you? When were you captain? Were you leaving as captain?
I was leaving as captain at home farm. Went to Shells with less money than I was on a home farm.
Is that only because he was there?
No, it was. I would have done it. Like if someone had said to me, you know, to do it, I would have. Like, but after I signed for Shells, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from Bowes, asked to sign for Bowes, and I was him and Han because I followed Bowes.
I was going to say, as a cameraman there.
Yeah, I followed Bowes. And I was like, yeah, but I said, I'm at the signing for Shells. And he said, well, look, meet me and we see if we can get you out of that contract. So he goes to me, meet me down in the Bohemian pub down on the corner in Fisbury. Yeah. And back then, no mobile phones, something like that.
Yeah, you could have a chat.
So I said, okay, I'll meet you down there. So sitting in the bar and waiting around, this fella walks by me, how are you? I said, how are you? Off he went, sitting there, hour, no one turned up. So rang me man on the pub phone, said, look, no one turned up. She goes, he's had to ring in the house looking for you. He said he's had to be in there, couldn't see you. He said, but if you come up to the house, he said he's on his way up to it. Yeah. I said, all right. So I made me way back to the house. The fella that said hello to me in the pub was the fella who was meant to meet me to say, to try sign me for Bowes. So he didn't even know what I looked like.
Okay, you're right.
That sort of summed it up then for me. I said, no, look, I'll stay at Shells.
Right, and the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history, yeah, exactly.
So talk us through Shells, because like again, I grew up watching Shells. My nana lived on Grace Park Road, just up the road from Talca Park, so would have gone to a good few games. Like, it was my own family background wouldn't have been mad into football, but a lot of my mates and their parents were, so they would have brought us to a lot of games over the years. We park up in my nana's and go down and watch the games, and like it really was like a glory period for Irish football over that. So I'd love to kind of talk about that, because obviously they had a very what's the word to describe? Very unique chairman that probably worked any stories about Shelbourne back then. He always seems to be at the forefront of all of them. So like he obviously had this big vision for the club as well, of to try and for me it seemed like he tried to make Shelbourne be the dominant team in the league and compete in Europe, which is like, it's great to reaching for the stars really, and he nearly almost pulled it off in a lot of ways, didn't he? Like over the years,
he did. And in fairness, like when you go back to the Shells, even before I signed, we used to be training up in Home Farms ground, Whitehall, and Shells were playing Finn Harps in the cup, and I went to 3 replays or something that year.
It's only up the road from me.
And you'd see the play, you'd hear the roars from the ground. Yeah. Or we'd train and then we'd go down and watch the match, like if you could get in, you know. But it was always that sense of, there was always sort of silverware or something that you were going to win stuff. Yeah. They always had that sort of vision. Yeah. And Damien Richardson was manager at the time, and they were in 3 cup finals in that year. But I played for Shells in a friendly before that against Sheffield Wednesday. Damien was manager.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Were they coming over for pre-season or?
Pre-season, yeah. So I played in that as a guest appearance. Never thought I was going to go back to Shells. But like you said, when I went down and Damien was manager, you had Pat Fenlon there, like you had Pat Scully, Tony McCarthy, the Bakers, you know,
big names,
Stephen Gagan, Deco Gagan. So you really had some good quality players there. Greg Costello, you know, Brian Flood. Like, so when I was going into it, you're looking, you're saying, am I good enough?
What year? 22, 23? This sort of.
I was 20. I was just gone 22.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I was just turned 22.
Fella, like,
and the reason I'll tell you why I remember the age well is that when we in pre-season training, that when I seen these players, and next minute you're getting your gear handed to you. You know, here's your tracksuit, here's your training gear, here's your jocks for training, your jocks for matches, like, and it's all washed, all done for your kit man. Takes your boots off you, cleaning your boots, having them there on your match day. And this was completely new to me. I'm like, no, I'll bring my boots home. It's all right. I'll clean them myself. And he's like, no, and he was getting paid to do that. Yeah. So he's looking after the players. Yeah. Everything was looked after. So we were in training and things like that. And when I was training, as I said, it was a bit more robust than most. So even in training, I trained the way I played. And some of them players couldn't believe it. They're like, this fella's 100 miles an hour here, like, you know, relax. And I'm like, no, this is it. But Keely used to say to us, look, if you're doing running or that, you run as hard as you can. Don't mind the senior players telling you slow down, because you'll always get that from senior players.
Yeah.
Slow down, put the reins on, because they don't want to do it.
So he kind of seen in you the kind of standard setter.
I think he sort of done it to everyone though as well. You just don't wait on them. He'd call me and Richie Baker aside and said, don't be waiting on them to catch up with you. You just go, just leave them. Like, so it was all that. And we good professionals there. Nutsy was a good professional and so on. So they were always encouraging you to do the certain things right.
And when you went to Shells then, what did that look like in terms of contracts? Did you go on a full-time contract then? Were you have to give up the day job, or were you still
No, I was part-time.
Yeah,
I was part-time then. So I actually got a job in Hickey's, because they were trying over in Harold's Cross.
Yeah.
So I got a job in Hickey's Fabrics, the warehouse side of it, down in Park A Street. So we were training over in Harold's Cross, and I was there for a couple of years, and all of a sudden then they start training up in Swords, up in the Sports Link.
Okay, yeah.
So it was a matter of like, now, and I wasn't driving.
Yeah.
So I was like,
wrong side
I'd get a taxi up if I had to, or I'd get picked up. Nutsy used to pick me up, wherever it was. But then I said, you know what, I got a job up there. So I got a job in Fifes.
Okay, yeah, just up the road.
So
yeah.
Again, I said, right, if everything was based around football.
Yeah.
So I went to Fifes. That way it was easy. I get into training. Tony McCarthy would pick me up, bring me to training.
Good swordsman, a lot
exactly,
of
yeah.
gym know him well, yeah.
So I was always looked after in terms of players or picking me up and helping me get to training.
But football was the priority, like
without a doubt. Yeah, everything work was always based around football.
That was just to fund your football, really.
Exactly.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. The jobs were great, but as I said, football was the number one thing for me. And no matter what happened, it was always, I'm going to do this. I want to play football.
So that was 98. You went to Shelbourne.
98. Yeah.
Then when did you kind of really, because you're there for the guts of 9 years, when did you really establish yourself as one of the main players there? Well, did it take a year or two? Because obviously you're going into one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, it took, Damon's first few games in the league, I think it was the first 4 games, he didn't win a game. So there was a crisis meeting, and all the players were in the dressing room. It was actually the old house at the time, the dressing room was. So
was that the one across the road from it?
There is one right beside it.
Okay.
So you have the house and then the club. Right. So in there, that was the dressing room. The front room was the dressing room.
Right.
So we're all sitting in there and had a meeting, and people are saying, having a say, and Nutsy stood up and said, "You aren't good enough to play for Shells." And he was talking about myself, Damien Marr, Graham Doyle, and Stephen Gifford. He said, basically that you aren't good enough to play at this level.
Yeah.
And he sort of had a pop with us and things, and
that's in front of the whole team.
Front
everybody
of the team,
there watching, and you're 22, 23.
I was 21 at this stage.
Yeah.
And Dermot said, "Have you something to save yourselves?" And the lads, "Oh no." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll prove you wrong." I said, "I think I am good enough for this team," and had a sort of pop back at him. So after that, 3 lads had gone. I got into the team, and the day after my birthday, we played Derry, and I scored the winner from about 35 yards out.
Yeah.
And it was Dermot Keely's first win for Shells.
Yeah.
So, I sort of, Greg Hosler missed the penalty that day and they missed the penalty, but it sort of gave me that
big moment.
Big moment,
career.
Yeah. But even playing in Talca then, we're down the corner, I gave away a stupid free kick. This always plays in my mind. I gave away a stupid free kick when we were attacking. And I remember a Shells fan in the corner, and he's giving out to me, giving away free kicks, you're bleeding this, you're not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And in my head I said, I'm going to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
And to this day, I always say it was Johnny Watson who was the kit man.
Right.
Now at Shells, and he keeps denying it.
But, you think it was him trying to get you going?
I'm sure it was him. But after that, I established myself in the team. Then I'd go in, I'd play the matches. Me and Richie Baker had a great connection.
Yeah.
On the right hand side of the pitch. Daisy Baker again. Stephen Gagan, link-up play was always a pleasure playing with him. And then after the match, we'd all go into the bar, have a few drinks, the fans and everything. And the fans will tell you exactly what they thought, you were good or you were crap or whatever it was.
Yeah, like that doesn't. I can't imagine that happening these days.
No, that's well, the players don't even go in for the drink with fans after. It's completely different. But at the time, you always had that sense, and it was good, and you'd had a great rapport with the fans.
Yeah, there's something pure about it, isn't there? Yeah.
And again, then I started getting into the team. A few senior players probably weren't happy I was taking their positions. That's football.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that year, I think we finished 3rd, and Dermot had a clear out. We got rid of a few senior players, brought in some good professional players like Paul Doolan come in. To me, best professional, that he would have played.
What age would he be when he come in? Like
he's probably hitting his 30s when he came in.
So well-established experience.
Well-established, and I round on him as well. And I remember at the end of the season when we finished 3rd, he turned around to me and said, "You had a good season." He said, "But now can you have a better season next year and the year after and the year after and the year after?" And he said, "Not just live on one season that you just had." So he was, in terms of grounding you. He knew how to do it.
It's great to have those people around you,
And then as time went on, I remember just we were going out to play a match, don't know who we were playing against, and I think Pasculli was injured or suspended, and Dermot hands me the captain's armband and said, "Right, you're captain today." And I was like, "What? No, this is Nutsy's in the team. Dooley's in the team. Like Tony McCarthy.
These are all
Geiger,
5, 6, 7 years older than you.
Unbelievable, a lot of really experienced who've won leagues and cups and things like that. And he had faith in me to do it. Like so, I went down, and again, it's like someone's had to give you, I don't know, the pot of gold.
How long was that since that crisis meeting? How far along later was that? Was it a year down the line?
Probably a year down the line, yeah.
So in that moment, the 3 lads who were called out kind of disappeared into the wilderness.
They were gone,
and you became captain.
And I kept going,
isn't it?
Yeah. And as I said, I never looked back then after that. Like, it was great. I only thought it was going to be for the one game.
Yeah.
And it was great, but when Pasculli went, I was made captain. And I think Nutsy had a hand to do with it as well. Like, Nutsy again would have been speaking to Pat and probably said, "Look, give it to Owen, like don't." Because I would expect Nutsy to take the mantle straight away, like. And
how long then down the line before he became your manager? Then was that a couple of years?
That was probably
Did he go straight from playing into being the manager?
Yeah, that was probably. It was 2003, I think it was. Pat took over.
And you were his captain.
And I was his captain,
So the fella he said wasn't good enough to play was his
captain.
That's great.
He'll tell you to this day, he said he didn't mean me. He meant the other 3.
He always says behind you,
He said he meant the other lads. But and it's funny, like that year when we done the double, Graham Doyle was playing with Bowles. Nutsy was only coming back from a broken leg. And Graham actually mentioned the story in the paper, saying that sort of Nutsy got, was half the reason why he ended up leaving.
Right.
And we played Bowes in the cup final, and he was giving a bit of stick to Nutsy in the paper, and Nutsy came back with a broken leg and ended up scoring the winner in the cup final.
There you go. Yeah,
it was a bit.
Yeah, but look, I think people who aren't involved in football and sport sometimes maybe don't get that. It sounds quite harsh, but that's just a melting pot of football, and you didn't have to leave. Like again,
I look back now. Yeah, I look back now, and I can understand where Pat was coming from.
Yeah.
It was like you've done the hard work to get the shells. But then when you get the shells, you just stop instead of saying, no, the harder work is to stay at shells at the time. Yeah. And I can understand, look, it's only now when you look back and say, right, I can understand what he meant by it.
Yeah.
And the reason behind what he was saying, like, our training must have been, the standard was dropped down. We'd drawn 4 games. And it's not like shells. Like,
well, your job brief every year was win the league and win the cup.
Well, that's it. That was the standard that, you're expected to at least challenge for the league or to win the cup or to, to be up there Europe every year. Like, so it's a lot different than being a home farm, and you half expected to, if we get promoted, it'd be great. Yeah. If we have a good cup run, it'd be great. Like,
and like just going over that era of dominance at Chelsea. So like you get established into the team, you're the captain of the team. Then I'd imagine then you're full-time pro at that stage. Then there's like a bigger, more secure contract come along to allow you to then focus on your football properly.
Yeah. So Dermot Keeley met me and he said he was the club were going full-time and he wanted me to go full-time. And Dermot, in fairness to him, as I said, I took pay cut when I went to Shells.
Yeah.
So he sort of rewarded me then.
He knew you were due.
Yeah, he knew. And he'll tell you to this day he paid for my kitchen and everything, like, But as I said at the time, he said to me, do you want to go full-time? And as I said, work wasn't the be-all and end-all.
You were only just the only thing.
And I was saying, yeah, no problem. And he looked after me in that sense and signed a 3-year deal, I think it was at that time. And
which is huge. Like, it's what you're heard of back then, yeah.
Yeah, and and then, as I said, you're full-time. Now, the difference between, full-time and part-time, because you're used to it, you think full-time, it'd be easy. I'll do my training in the morning, in the afternoon,
the day to do what you
and
want,
I do what I want. You're a lot sort of tired being full-time because you're not used to the downtime.
Yeah.
You're sitting there for 3-4 hours sitting at home saying, well, what do I do now? Like, it's
well, you hear a lot of players even over England over the years have referenced that found it hard, that downtime.
It is, it is. And it's, especially when I was more active, like I'd be leaving work at 5 o'clock, training at 7 o'clock, home at 10 o'clock, having your dinner at 10 o'clock.
And straight back into it again the next day.
Whereas now all of a sudden you're training at 10 o'clock in the morning, you're home, you might train in the afternoon, you might not, and you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs then all day. What do I do?
And just regarding that, like those years then, like you're now fully established, you're the captain of Shelbourne. You obviously see a lot of really good quality players coming in because you go full time. That obviously draws some of the best players around, and some of the players you had were you really had almost like the Harlem Globetrotters of the league. Like going through those years, what because it wasn't just, you obviously dominated in the league, but then obviously you had a good run in Europe, and there's some big games. Like the one that always stands out for me was like having Deportivo at home. And that was like, was that the last qualifying game? Like if you won that, were you into group stages?
Into
like
the group stage, that's, yeah.
Like you're right on the cusp there. Is that the biggest game that you probably played in, do you think, in your Shelbourne career? Or is there other European games that's kind of stood out for you as well?
Yeah, no, I suppose biggest game in terms of for the club, it was, because these are big.
It was in Lansdowne as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big European team and things like that. I mean, Hajduk Split before that was a massive team.
Yeah.
But even the run, like we were 2-0 down against
Croatia, were they?
Yeah,
the Croatia team.
Yeah, and we were 2-0 down against Reykjavik in the first game.
Yeah.
And Alan Moore to me made a big difference that year. He played obviously in Premier.
Was he from same place as yourself?
He's Finglas, yeah. He's down the south of Finglas, but again, he made a big difference because you could see the level he played at, playing for Ireland, playing in the Premier League in England and so on. And he made a massive difference that year, that he ended up clawing us back into games single-handedly. Then we go over to Croatia and play Hajduk Split. We lost the game 3-2 over there, but we had a milli up at the end.
Right.
Big fight between them, ourselves, and I sort of rattled them.
So like 3-2 defeat away from home with away goals isn't a bad result, really.
No,
like,
it's not a bad result.
Yeah,
you know,
can take that.
Yeah, but I think that the row at the end rattled them more than ourselves. Like, you know, they have a massive stadium over there, but the ground is sort of, the stand is a bit away from.
They would have expected to wipe the forges, would they?
But when they come to Tolka, decent crowd, big crowd, but they're on top of you on the pitch, and it's sort of intimidating. But that keeper, I remember that keeper was pulling off save after save. He was unbelievable. And we're like, never going to score here. And then Roger comes up with a cracker of a goal. Like,
it's a centre half,
he scores a volley, top corner, 1-0. And we're saying, right, that's, you know, we'll go through on away goals. And then Joseph and Doe comes on, and we're saying running into the corner, and he does a little Cruyff turn, rolls across, Alan Moore, 2-0. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And, you know, it set us up massive because we knew who we had once we got through that game. Like,
and like the players you're playing with there, like obviously Joseph and Doe, like, what was he like? He seems a very eccentric character. I don't know much, just seen his bits on the style of playing as a player, and then you've seen him on doing a bit of the analysis over the World Cup and stuff like that. Like, what was the melting pot like being in that successful dressing room? Like, you would have had different players from all around. Like, I know Wes Hoolan played there as well. Like, he's gone on to have a massive career as well. What was that like, being in that competitive dressing room when you were leading it? Like, was there ever complacency coming in because you were winning so much? Was that something you watched out for, or like?
No, yeah.
Or did everyone just hold a high standard?
No, we had to hold a high standard. Even our training session sometimes, and I know you probably hear this with other people, that was harder than the matches. Like you go into our training sessions and you'd have, say, Wezzo and Alan Moore on one team. You'd have Stewie and Joe and Doe on another team. You know, and you'd have good defenders, good attackers, good centre forwards. Jay Bourne on one side. You know, you'd have Glenn Fitzpatrick on it.
Yeah.
So always high standard, and you know, if you got beaten 4-0 in a training session, there'll be more there. There'll be like a lot of our training sessions, there was digging matches in it, and that's not messing. Like there was digging matches, there was rows, there was everything. But once we left the training pitch, you know, that's it. We shook hands. There was never any taking her on into the dressing room. Then you look at Joseph. You spoke about Joseph and Doe, talented player, couldn't get into the team because you had Jim Crawford, Alan Moore, Wes Houlihan, Stewie Bourne, all playing in the middle of the park. Ollie Catlin on the wing, Alan Cawley playing, you know, Jay Bourne. So it was hard. We had a lot of quality players, but it was hard to fit them all in.
Yeah, it's hard to keep them happy
same time. But they always rode in. None of them ever sort of had a complaint about it, like, you know.
And when did you see then, like, of the wheels coming off the kind of Shelbourne bus then? Because obviously with all this big talent here, there would have been, I would imagine, quite a large wage bill to keep everybody there. And at that time, that was kind of 2006, 7. So even the economy around the whole country and the whole world was starting to slow down at that stage. Like, so Irish football seems to replicate, where there's money in the economy, it kind of replicates into football and vice versa. Could you feel it then? Like, what was there signs that something wasn't right then, when it was like, did it come to an abrupt end, or was it kind of?
Yeah, no, it was more like 2005. We signed Glenn Crowe, Bobby Ryan, Gary O'Neill. You know, you're improving the squad again.
You probably the 3 best strikers in the league.
Yeah, and you know, but we finished, I think, third in the league that year. Yeah. We got a bad start and couldn't make the ground up, and Cork won it that year. But the following year, then we were more determined. So again, started out well, we were cruising well in the league, and then all of a sudden, checks start bouncing, or money wasn't being paid into the bank. And as you said, we're full time now. This is where work to me is work.
Yeah, it is. You're going all in on this. And had you family at this stage?
Yeah, family. I bought my house when I was 21. Yeah. So, you know, you're looking and saying, right, you have family, you have to have bills, you have to kids, lunches, kids, food on the table, mortgages, you have everything then.
It's not
so
just you and your little football
no, it's
career,
not just, I can go back to my mum's and stay there. So, 2006 then, as I said, there was money issues, financial issues. And we had gone possibly 3-4 weeks without being paid at one stage. So we had a meeting, and once you're 2 weeks without being paid, you've broken a player's contract.
And are all the players coming to you here? Are you kind of, because you're still captain at the stage?
They're coming, we checks at the bounce and they're not getting paid this week. And I'd be in the same boat, and, I'd be talking to Pat and say, Pat, look, lads, and he'd be the same boat and so on. So I'd meet Ollie constantly, and, say, look, can't have this. So what we done then is we decided as a team, we sat together as a team and had a meeting. Say, look, this is what's happening. Ollie's promises that it will be paid. Might be this week, might be the week after. Don't know. What do you want to do? So because your contract is broken, you're free to go, basically. So
I'd say every other club around was sniffing.
All wanted, of course they did, And in fairness to the lads, they all said, well, look, what are we doing? I said, well, I'm going to stay, row in. And they said they're staying and rowing in. So we said,
how far into the season were you? Were you halfway roughly?
We were probably over halfway, and we were top of the table.
Yeah.
Derry were challengers for the league.
And that was a year after you came third as well, so you probably had a bit between your teeth.
Exactly. And we've said, right, so what we do is, if we stay, we try to win the league. And if you win the league, then you won't have people saying, they only play for the money.
Yeah.
Because you hear it all about footballers.
Exactly.
They're only there because of money.
Yeah.
So when we're playing, I think I said to Ollie that, look, any money that you get, if you give to me, we had a committee and we say who needed it the most. Because we'd have players that were living at home wouldn't need it as much as certain players for mortgages. Yeah. So he said that's fair enough. So if there was £1,000, we'd split it. Whoever
and
needed
you kind
the
of
most.
delete that, did you?
Yeah. So I would take it. I'd have a copy or take a record of what players were owed, bonuses wise, wages wise, everything like that. And I'd speak to players on a regular basis, and make sure that we can sort of get money for whatever the needs was. And we end up going 6-7 weeks, maybe more, without being paid at all.
That's really going above and beyond your captain responsibilities there.
You have to realise then as well, you have to have pressures at home.
Yeah.
When you come into football, we're all in the same boat and we're like, grand, we can all relate to each other. But then when you go home, there's more pressures, like saying, the family wants this, mortgages have to be paid. You're going down restructuring mortgages and things like that, and hoping,
it's a lot,
to get through it. And the staff, like Pat and all them were the same, they were in the same boat. So I think the staff then said to Ollie, look, we're going to go on strike if nothing's going to happen. So, but Pat secretly said we're going on strike, but he'd be telling me, look, you need to train, make sure we're right for the game. So I'd take the training session and I'd speak to Pat and say, yeah, look, this is what we've done in training, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And he's like, grand. So he'd be keeping an eye on it. But Ollie wasn't talking to Pat wasn't talking to Ollie. Right. So I was the go-between between the two of them. And it was just circle going round and round and round. But
and you're still winning games.
Still winning games. Then we played, Derry City were the closest to us. Derry City played an eligible player, but he got away with that year. Dublin City ended up folding.
Yeah, that was a big controversy because I think the points were given back or something like that. Was there something like that?
No, with Derry had beaten Dublin City once and lost them once. We beat them twice, so 6 points was taken off us, whereas 3 points is only taken off Derry. So it brings Derry closer to us. But in the heel of the hunt then, as I said, we end up winning the league on goal difference. And, that's when we got the trophy and said, it was great. But the day we got the trophy, we didn't get the medals. I had to go over to the FEI the following day to collect the medals. Don't ask me why I didn't have them there. So drove over the next day, medals underneath the table, brought them and gave them to the lads. We met up that night in the halfway house up in Navan Road. And we ended up saying, there's your medals and thanks very much, and ended up going separate ways.
That must be a surreal experience.
Unbelievable. That's why, a lot of people look at Stewie Bourne when he had a little the rant after the match.
Yeah.
And, people think it was about Stephen Kenny. It was
off the ball or someone always played.
Yeah.
It was about Stephen Kenny though, was it not?
No, it was about the whole accumulation of everything. Okay. Like, you have to think of the pressure like the players were under.
Yeah.
One, not getting paid, family life, being affected. Two, coming in and wanting to win games. Three, then you had Dublin City folding, Derry City getting the points.
It felt like everything was
against
you. And
everything was seen to be piling. And then Stewie hears that Bowes were contacted by Stephen.
He wasn't even manager there, wasn't he?
No, he was Derry manager.
Yeah, so but he just didn't want you to win the league.
No, and I can understand that. Like he's encouraging his old players to try get them to beat us, so that way he win the league. And that's part of football. I wouldn't have anything like that.
Involved with
Derry. But everything sort of built up, and Stewie, I have to be honest, was unbelievable in the game. Man of the match.
Was he man of the match? Yeah.
Man of the match, scored a penalty. You know, he was brilliant. He was everywhere.
But that microphone that was on the pitch. It was only 60 seconds after the
it was
final
just
whistle.
sounding straight into his face. And I got texts and saying, tell Stewie to calm down. I thought at the time it was how he played.
Yeah.
They're saying, oh, you've brilliant, you know, tell him to calm down. Didn't think anything of it. And we all met up the next day for a few drinks. And Stewie said his phone was getting hopped over by Derry fans. And I'm like, why? And he told me the story. And I'm like, oh, don't believe it. And then when I seen it, I was like, oh. But I can understand exactly why.
You know, you're full of frustration. Probably all he wanted to do was say the word fuck, and he couldn't because he was live on TV. Exactly. So he was like trying to get it out but hold it in without saying it. He's the only man who could do that interview without cursing. And that's being honest, you know. He probably gave himself a hernia trying not to do it. I have a lot of time for Stewie, a lot of respect for him. And as I said, it was just a complete release. And he probably said everything that players were feeling at the time. Yeah. And that's all it was. Yeah. Did you get interviewed as well? Were you asked, or was it just because obviously you were the captain? But was it just? I think mine was just I had to think about the game. Like I just spoke about the game. It wasn't about anything else. Yeah. But so I learned my lesson from years ago. I got a Player of the Year back in 2002. Players Player of the Year. Yeah. And I was playing left full that year, and I was a right full, so I wasn't expecting to get anything. Yeah. So that was the whole the Players Player of the Year. All the players voted for it. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and I was well on at this stage. Yeah. And the comedian at the time was Brendan O'Carroll, and he's up effing and blinding out of him doing the speech. And next minute they called out my name for winning, and I went up with gag, and I started talking and effing and blinding out me. And the next day, Ollie Bourne contacts me and says, "What speech were you giving?" Like, I said, "Ollie, I was gargled. Sorry, take your time. Yeah, I said I was gargled. Do you want to get some water? No, I'm grand. I said I was gargled. I said I didn't think I was getting it, and they hand me the trophy, and I said I just had him playing in my mind, Brendan O'Carroll, and I'm spewing out things. And I said after that, then I said, right, make sure I don't drink going to awards, and if you're doing any of those interviews, just make sure you keep it down the low. You weren't offered a part of Mrs. Brown's Boys. No, I'm not there. But well before all that. But yeah, so I don't think he'd be doing those awards anymore. He's a multi-millionaire. No, he didn't need to be doing. Yeah, exactly. He was only up and coming at the time. But no, that's to say that's why Stewie's frustration just boiled over. Yeah, that's cool. But I think real football fans love that, to see a bit of passion. Like you don't really get that anymore. You know, they're all media trained and they have to be, fair enough. But I think it's great when you see a bit of raw passion like that. No, but even the managers back then, you think Pat Dolan, Roddy Collins, Dermot Keeley, always had rows in the paper. You know, where it was great because of a lot of passion then. Yeah. In the game. And as I said, even one time I remember Roddy said something about shells, and I'm talking to Roddy like me and you talking now, and Terry Everson was there. Next minute Ollie come up, pulled me out of the way and started throwing digs at Roddy, like, you know, what's this? This is the chairman of Shells having a go at it. Was he the Bows manager at the time? Or? Yeah, he was Bows manager, and just started throwing digs, like, you know, that was Ollie though. Ollie was very passionate man, like, you know, didn't want anyone saying nothing about his club. Yeah, he was. Well, in fairness, like, he seemed a really eccentric character, and like I said, the stuff he's did over the years, like, I think someone should do some sort of a film or a documentary on it. Yeah, we always used to say to me, should have wrote a book, like, some of the stuff he'd done, the memoirs of it. But I don't think he'd be able to say half of the things he was up to. But now, a real character, Ollie, like, you know. There was one story, maybe we can be clarity on. There was a story of there was some link with like Saddam Hussein's solicitor or something. Yeah, that was. I was. Can you give me a bit of context? I was there at that time. Yeah, it was. I came into Talca Park, and this gorgeous helicopter lands in the middle of Talca Park. On the pitch, like. On the pitch. And I went down to meet Ollie, and I'm in there, and Saddam Hussein's solicitor's in there talking to Ollie, and Ollie's like, oh, no, this is Stefano, whatever his name is, you know. And I'm where is he from? Is he Italian or? I think so, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think he was based in England, you know, and but I'm like, Ollie goes, this is such, I said, Ollie, I know who he is. I said, I've seen him representing Saddam Hussein on your boy on the telly, like. What's he doing in Talca Park? And he was there to try buy the club, like. Okay, yeah. You know, and these were the characters that were coming in and out of the club all the time. Like, you'd have politicians, you'd have the likes of the lawyers, solicitor. Yeah. It's just everyone from every walk of life was walking in and out. They probably just, I'd imagine, part of it was the Talca Park property area. I would say so, yeah. That was a big appetite for it as well, like, yeah. But Ollie was. He knew everyone. Yeah. And then we trained over in United's ground in Carrington one year, like, and United were playing Porto. Yeah. In the Champions League quarterfinals. That when Keane kicked Victor Boy. That's when Mourinho ran down the line and slid. And we were training over there, and it was 30 of us obviously training. And that day we rang Ollie, or Nutsy rang Ollie, said, look, any chance of getting tickets for tonight's game? That'd be sold out. And we said, I've just thought of a chance there now. Ollie rings us back and said, right, when you're walking down the thing, Stephen the Greek will meet us and he'll look after you. Some fella, we walked down to the match, some fella, there you go, there's 30 tickets for the Champions League quarterfinal. Class, yeah. That's the day of the game. Yeah. He managed to get 30 tickets for us. Yeah.
That was Ollie.
Cool. That's a serious pull now, to be fair.
But it was. So he had United, the first team over. Like Roy Keane's first game back after Saipan in Ireland was against Shells.
Was it? Yeah. I don't know if I was at that. I remember going to see Celtic. You
Celtic was
I think
over.
you were playing.
Harchester United, the dream
I remember
team.
I was at that game.
Yeah,
as well.
that was packed. That was sold out every week.
I remember your man. There was a star player. Was it Fletcher?
I
don't even play. He just did a warm up and waved to all the fans. He was obviously shocking.
Never played in his life.
So and they couldn't give it away by bringing him on. So he just stayed on.
But
the
the second time they come over, he learned how to play football.
Yeah.
And what he did, he said he wanted to do it for a European game. So we done the match where it's a stop, start, and they said to us, right, one of you have to miss the penalty. And we're like, well, you're not missing the penalty, you know. So we had to get the kit man on to take the penalty and put the penalty over the bar, like so.
So you're technically a TV star as well.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, the Harchester. Yeah, but it was good. Like, you know, Ollie just knew.
It was packed that day. I remember going. Yeah,
Ollie knew. And as I say, Roy Keane's first game back out the Saipan, great reception in Talca Park, like, you know. And I got the pennant signed by Roy, the whole lot.
Deadly, so,
I got Solskjaer's jersey and things like that.
Class,
and then you have lads getting everyone's jersey that day, so it was
brilliant,
good.
Yeah,
you know?
They're great days. Like,
great, yeah. And I wouldn't be one to go looking for jerseys after matches.
It was just like that. Were you a United fan growing up or anything?
Yeah, I like United.
Yeah, same as myself. So it's been a hard few
years. We're coming back.
Slowly getting there. Yeah, we won't go too far into it. So look, that like the Shells I really want to spend time on because of that, like because there was just so much going on. Then you get the call to go to your boyhood club to Bohs. Like, was that controversial or did everyone just understand? Because obviously the whole team pretty much split. You all had to go to different places. Obviously Bohs and Shells are massive rivals.
Yeah, Ollie Byrne didn't want me to go anywhere. Yeah. He said no. He offered me a 5-year contract, offered me the manager's job, the whole lot on top of it. And I'm like, Ollie, you can't even pay me now. You know. Yeah. So he took. I had to go to a tribunal to get out my contract, and Ollie went down with me. John Delamare was there, and it was £1,000 they had to pay to go to the tribunal. And I'm like, this is pointless. I said, you're better off getting that £1,000 and give it to the lads that need it, like, you know. And he turned around, no, we're doing this. So we went to anyway. I got told, I'm out of my contract because they hadn't paid in 6-7 weeks longer. So after Ollie goes,
you upset about that? Like, because obviously you'd put a lot in there and you'd be looking after the players.
I wasn't.
You were owed to maybe just.
No, I wasn't upset because to me it was like he wanted me there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I was like, well, I wouldn't have probably left Shells if Shells were continuing on and things like that. And he was like, after he goes, come on, we go for lunch. So he brought me out for lunch.
After a tribunal.
After a tribunal, he brought me for lunch and he goes, right, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell you to QPR. And I was like, Ollie, you can't sell me to QPR. I said, look, I'm at to sign the pre-contract with Bohs. No, I don't want you to go to Bohs. I said, no. I said, look, I'm happy to go to Bohs. Like, you know, I've had other offers from other clubs.
You're in your late 20s here, yeah? Or were you
I was, late 20s, yeah. And I said, no, look, you know, their club, they're down the road, me, I support them as a young fella. I said, I'm going to go there. Like, it's easier for me. And I was asked to go to Derry and a few other clubs. You'd no temptation to go and give England a try, no? No, Keely said to me years ago, he said, look, do you want to go up to England? I said, no, I'm happy here. And I did sign a pre-contract in Holland years before that, and I didn't want to go down either. Like, so I said, no, look, I'm quite happy. I was earning a good living, you know, family all around, coming down to the matches. I enjoyed it. So I was always happy to play here, and like that. Then Ollie, after that, as I said, I went to Bohs, and Jerry Cuff and Jerry Conway signed me at Bohs. Yeah,
and then like again, that was what 6 years at Bohs, is that right?
Yeah, in around probably.
And again,
longer,
2 more league titles there, League Cup, and the one thing I was keen to talk to you about with Bohs was you also won the Setanta Cup.
Yeah,
what was that like as an experience? Because obviously it's not on anymore. Like, I can imagine there were some tasty games there, especially going up playing like Linfield or Glentoran away and stuff. Like, how did you find that experience?
You know what? It's a real, how would you say, it's a challenge knowing that you're playing the best teams in Northern Ireland. Yeah. And you always want to represent your league in the best way and say, well, look, we're the heady hills. And but in the first Setanta Cup, the first year, inaugural year, was Shells got to the final against Linfield. I was suspended for that. And I remember 2 yellow cards and you were suspended. Yeah. One of them probably was a yellow card. The second was against Portadown, and I was walking backwards and I fell over a fella's foot and the referee booked me. And I was fuming because that made me miss the final. Yeah. But I ended up watching the final.
Was the final in Talca?
It was in Talca. Linfield end up winning. I think it was 2-0 and gutted, like, you know.
That'd be a sick now,
You don't know when it's going to come back around. Yeah. But at Bohs,
and that was his first year.
Yeah. And then and a lot of respect for Linfield at that time because they were really a top team. But I thought, you know, we could have gone out and won that game. And in fairness, they came to Talca and got a good win.
Intimidating environment to go.
In fairness, as I said, they were probably one of the top teams in the country as well at that time. And Jeffrey's manager and things, you know, the really good manager, good squad, everything there. So, like you said, when we played then for Bohs, and in the Setanta Cup, it was playing against the Portadowns and that again. And thankfully, this time is, we had a good team, as in a team that could, I wouldn't say best individual players, but really good team, as in work hard for each other, good spirit. If one player went out, another player would come in and had the same sort of army in that they could do the same job without having to question them. So really good setup, as I said, and we ended up playing Pats in the final and played over in Tala Stadium. Actually, the first trophy won in Tala was by a Bows team.
There you go. Yeah, you have to remind them about that.
Yeah. But as I said, Pats again a good team, and Brando Murphy scoring against his old club. It was a good win for us.
We're looking back, because you had 5 league titles at Shelbourne, 2 at Bows. Is that the most in the league? Has anyone matched that?
No, it was Sean Gannon, I think, has overtook that.
Has he? Yeah.
But like that,
but you had the record there until
a joint record where, but like that, you're looking and you're saying the ones that you look back on is the ones that got away. The last game of the season, I think I've lost 3 in the last game of the season.
Right.
One of them, there was an argument between players at the club, ended up sort of disrupting the club. We were 13 points clear with 9 games to go.
This
we
was
ended up losing. Shells.
Yeah.
And then at Bowls, we lost it on goal difference against Rovers and so on. So they're the ones that you look back and say, what if? But
of the 7, was there one that meant the most to you? Is that fair?
I suppose, what, I look back on the foursome, the first double I done at Shells. Yeah. It was sort of, I don't mean to say easy, but we won the league easily. Yeah. We won it by 13 points. And we first double at Bowls, we won the league easily. I think the Bowls one really means a lot because of the fact that we lost our second game to Pats and everyone wrote us off of the league.
Right, yeah.
And then we didn't get beaten to the second last game of the season.
And would you have gone to Dalymount as a kid? Would you have gone to the games?
Yeah, I used to go down and watch Bowls. And back then, I don't know if anyone knows, Dalymount, but there used to be, the pitch would be up around eye level. So there was a big drop, and if you're standing there, you'd be looking at that, just that boost, especially as a young lad. But thankfully, it's a lot different now.
Yeah, but not the best vantage point.
No. And I went and watched France against Ireland there, and Platini was playing. It's probably the worst game ever. 0-0 board and draw. The place was packed in the rafters. Yeah. But as I said, when I played, I loved Talca Park and I loved Dalymount Park playing them. And Turner's Cross was another one.
Everyone says Turner's Cross.
Yeah, it's just, again, I like the pitches where the stand is sort of close and on top, and intimidating. Inchy Cord be like that as well. It's always,
Turner's Cross is always the one that comes up. Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, that's. I've never been to a game down there.
No, it's good. I like Dalymount because it was a massive pitch, probably the biggest pitch in the country at the time. And being young and having the legs to run, that was easier for me to play on.
Obviously, just to kind of to summarise on the football career, you're finished in there. You finished up with Bowls. Obviously, you went into management. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes' time. But looking back on it there, it's definitely not, we spoke there, it's not really the conventional route into senior football that you did. You literally pretty much came off the streets into pro football, and again, going down to Kilkenny as a 16-year-old on a bus to get going. But then you look back over what you did at Shells, been handing the captaincy at such a young age, and the role you played as captain, we're talking about there, way above and beyond what a standard club captain would have to do. What do you think was the kind of pillar behind all of this? Did you have a particular mindset you think that molded you?
Yeah, I think so.
Because it's not, what you did not many people can do. And I mean it in a really good way. So there's obviously some foundation that you have to your core that allowed you to get through all this.
I think the fact is, when I won the first trophy at Home Farm, the Shield, and I remember that year, Home Farm and Peter Eccles signed and John Cody. And John Cody had, say, 4 league medals, doubles and things like that. Peter Eccles, a lot of league medals, cap for Ireland. I went to Shells then, and you had Mick Neville, 6 league titles. And for some reason, I'm like, I want what they want, what they have. I want to get there, and how do I do that? Yeah. The only way you can do it is by hard work, and making sure that the players around you all row into the same thing. So even at Shells, when new players come in, there was a standard set, and the group of players that were there never let the new players come in and drop that standard. It was this is it. And I remember even at Bowes, when we got that standard, that we signed 3 or 4 players from Derry and Sligo and so on, and they couldn't believe the training sessions were so high standard that they had to get up to that level. Yeah. And I think I injured 2 or 3 of them in the first couple of games, or a couple of training sessions. And Nutsy brought me in and said, "Look, you need to calm down." And I was like, "Right, grand, I'll drop my standards a bit." And then during the year, then all of a sudden I got dropped. I wasn't getting in, and I was fuming. And I met Pat, and Pat was talking to me. He goes, "You're not hard at in training." I'm like,
What
is
you
this
want
fella
from
for
me?
real? I said, they're telling me to drop. So again, in my head, I'm like, oh, that's it. I need to prove a point here. Like, and there was one thing when you talk about managers, like Dermot and Nutsy, I always wanted to impress or to make sure that we won games, you know, because if we lost 2 in a row, there was always that, oh, they're this,
2 losses away from
yeah,
a crisis, as they
yeah,
say.
exactly. And there was always a drive to say, we're not losing this one, we're making sure. So I suppose I had that in my mindset that I always wanted to win.
Yeah, and like playing on the edge like that and having that drive, were you out to enjoy the game? Like, you know, a lot of players achieve a lot and they say it was down to the attitude and being on the edge, but when they look back on their career, they kind of go, I wish I kind of enjoyed it a bit more. Did you have the same thing?
I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed the playing side, but it's hard. Like, you know, if you lose a game, the next day, it's not worth talking. It's no one, like, my family, I make sure don't come near me, like, because I'd be like a demon. And that's, and it could be a form of, I don't know if you want to say depression, like you'd be sitting there sulking all day and the only one you can talk to about the game would be the players that played the game.
Yeah.
And it's a mad mindset, like, you know, and then you'd wait for the next game and bang, you'd win and you'd enjoy the weekend. But then you go out and you could lose a game and all of a sudden your week is just ruined again. It's just, there's so many highs and lows. Thankfully I had more highs than lows. But it's a horrible feeling when you lose a match. Like if you have that mindset of wanting to win constantly.
And as you were playing, like, did the family go and watch you play? Like, did like you mentioned your mum at the start there, you were saying she was a big driving force at that young age. Like, would they have gone? Would your kids have gone to games and stuff?
Yeah, the whole lot of them. Yeah, my wife Michelle used to come down with the kids and that, you know, Friday, or when the kids were younger, her mum would mind them and they'd come down, but she'd come down and we were there always at the games. And as I said, you know, even the other players, the wives and all, would all go out after, and we were the sort of younger kids, you know, with the senior players and that. But there was always a good relationship there, as in with all the squad and their players and things like that. But yeah, always came down when I played in Deportivo. My young fella walked out as mascot. He's the one that's in the photograph. He's 4 years of age.
Deadly, yeah.
And I have the photograph signed by every player, every Shells player, and I got him to sign as well when he was 4.
Class,
so,
yeah.
You know, I have that. As I said, it
probably has better handwriting than half the lads.
Yeah, everyone else is the squiggles. But you know, when you look back, they're great memories to have.
Amazing, yeah.
What the story I was saying earlier about my mum was that we were playing over in Rosenborg and Ollie Bourne rings me on the Wednesday, I think it was, and said, look, do your man want to go to the match? And I said, I asked my mum, she said, look, do you want to go to the match? She said, no, I won't go this time. I'll leave it. Your dad's working, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. So next when Ollie rings me Thursday, he said, is she sure like she can go on the flight, fix me up next week? I said, man, look, you want to go? No, definitely not. Now, our flight was at Friday morning.
It was a charter plane, was it?
Charter plane, Friday morning, about 6 o'clock or whatever it is. And I said, this is Thursday night, 10 o'clock. I said, are you sure you don't want to go? I said, 100%, I'm not going. No, it's grand. So I got to the airport and sitting there and Tony McCarthy goes, I seen your man down there. And I goes, no, my man's not going. Like, he said, I could have sworn it was her. I said, no. So all the fans were on the flight and we got on and I was sitting there. And it's only when I got off in the airport over in Rosenborg, I see my man going by with a case. I said, what are you doing? He said, oh yeah, I decided to come. I said, where's my dad? He said, I didn't tell him. He said he was asleep, so I got up. And she wrote a note on the fridge to say, gone to the match, I'll be back in a couple of days.
In a few days.
And that's the way she was. She just went and does the thing, and I'm sitting there, oh my God, this is what they want.
So she was in the away end in Rosenborg.
Yeah, for all the fans, exactly. And that'd be me mad, drop of the hat. She'd be always, where are you playing this week? Gone. Do you know what I mean? Because she had a good, the fans, the supporters of Shells, she was in there with them, and you know, they always had a good little club that would go off together. Same with Bowes, when I joined Bowes, you know, the likes of Lynn and people down there would always look after her, and she'd have a great crack there, like, you know.
Amazing,
so, and she's still in touch with Bowes fans and Shells fans today. And
do you go to many games still now yourself?
I go to the Bowes game, I have a membership at Bowes, so I go down every week. They're playing at home. I don't go to Shells games as much, as a bit further away, but I do look at results on the telly or watch their games on the telly. So I like to come in. Just
so when it's the North Dublin derby, do you have your Bowes jersey on? Or?
I'll just sit and watch the game.
Good answer. I won't push anymore. I loved it. Like, again, like going through the playing career there, Owen, was brilliant. Like, again, just to hear the mindset and the attitude. And I think Shelbourne is just a really interesting case study as to kind of what the League of Ireland can be like, you know, in terms of the highs and lows and everything in between with it. But then like you get to Bowes, and I think it's really cool that you go to another club and you think it's an end of such a successful chapter, but then you go on and you start a whole other chapter at Bowes. Like, it's very impressive to go and win another 2 league titles. And I think, like, am I right in saying they were the first 2 league titles of Bowes had for a while, right?
Yeah, they're the first back-to-back league titles that he ever had.
Ever?
Yeah.
Right. So that's another huge success there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the step into management management I'd love just to talk about for a couple of minutes on, because I'm always fascinated. Like, you would have definitely come in. I know there's always an old school and a new school every few years. It swaps over. But when you came in first, you talking about Kilkenny City lads taking false teeth out before games and putting gum shields on.
Much different.
When you start then getting involved with management of Bohs, did you start at underage first, and then it was a little pathway up then?
Yeah, I started with the reserve team.
Yeah, were you still playing at that stage?
I was still playing.
Yeah.
So I was playing and doing a reserve team. So like that on a Friday night, I could be coming back from Derry and then I go up to Finn Harps on a Saturday. You know, it was tough enough. But
I hope you were getting paid mileage for all this.
No, I wish. But like that, you know, we were bringing younger players through. Pat brought in some young, good, talented players, and you know, they were talking about bringing in an under-19s league then at the time.
Okay.
So you know, we brought in younger players rather than having the same old.
Did you go around just the local clubs in Dublin?
Yeah, the likes of Home Farm, and
yeah.
I'd go to, and we took most of the players then from Home Farm as we went on. But Nutsy had these players in before I took over them, and it was a case we went up to Derry, and these lads were very young. They were only 17, 18, coming out of schoolboy football, and instead of bringing, say, if the senior players didn't play, we bring them into the reserve team. We just said, look, we'll take these young fellas up, show them what the league was about. Brought them up, played Derry's reserve team, and Derry had a few senior players that weren't playing that were in it, and they absolutely battered the young fellas 6-0, and the young fellas couldn't believe the step up that they had to try get to. You know, and it was a real eye opener for them. Like, and
it's a humbling experience.
Yeah, it is. And you know, if you look at the players then that end up bringing in, like Keith Buckley, Stephen Traynor, you know, all these players that went on and had good careers in the game. You know, Buckle's still down at Bohs now. You know, but it was an eye opener for them to see this is the standard. And then when they came to Bohs, they seen that the standard that was there already was a higher standard again. You know, Glenn Crone, Jay Bourne, Glenn Crowe, myself, Killian Brennan. So they seen the standard we wanted them at, and then they seen the standard that they had to play against. Like, so it was an eye opener for them, and I think it was a good learning curve for them.
Yeah, and then when you eventually got the Bohs senior job, like you were obviously at Bohs, then you went to Sligo, and then you're Shells. Like, so you're such a Bohs and Shells is added pressure because you're a legend in the clubs from what you've done as a player. How did you find actually going from, because obviously when you're obviously a leader as a captain, but it's a whole different animal when especially when you become the full-on manager as well. There's all these different roles, responsibilities. How did you find that, like, being the manager and looking at players of the kind of newer generation who are maybe a little bit different and not quite as maybe hardened as some of the old school generation?
The Bohs one wasn't too bad because they were players I was playing with.
Yeah.
So as in my last season at Bohs, I was an amateur, because the club were financially difficult, so I became an amateur. So when Aaron left, I was asked would I take over, and I said okay, but it's still, I should have played on more.
Yeah.
I was 37 at the time.
So you kind of retired a few months early, did you?
Yeah, I was like, well, I won't stay on playing because if I'm on the pitch and I'm playing, I'll be giving out the player, and then if you're off the pitch, it's sort of thing. But you know, I said good squad of players. We were fighting relegation. We end up staying up and avoiding relegation, which is great. Following year, then we did well, and like that, I got an offer then from Sligo to go there full time football.
Yeah,
as I said, I wasn't getting paid as a player. You know, I wasn't earning much money. So it's a bit of a no-brainer for me to try it, yeah. And like that, went to Sligo, you know, looked at it, they told me what the plan was, and then a couple of months later, the plan changes and so on, so didn't work out for me, end up leaving there, and I was like, well, wasn't really into the management side of it then. I got offered a few gigs, and I was like, no, you know what, I'll take a step back and enjoy life, because when you're football, you miss out on 24th, weddings, everything. Like, you miss out on a lot of stuff with family. People think, oh, you're full time, you have more time to do things. You don't, you know.
Well, the games are always on.
Game is on a Friday,
times,
yeah. And then if it's bank holiday weekend, you have a game Friday and a game Monday, so that's your bank holiday out the window. Your holidays are at Christmas time, so you're going away freezing cold to Florida, thinking you're going to Florida, it's roasting, and it's not like so. It was a case of I'll take a step back, you know, and enjoy it.
I'd say was the family happy with that when you decided to take the step back? Like, obviously it's you pursuing your career, but they have to sacrifice as well as you're doing.
I know the sacrifice they do make is unbelievable. I said even with my sister's wedding, I was at Bohs at the time, and the wedding, we were playing Sligo on the Saturday, and my sister's wedding was on the Friday. So like that, training was Thursday night, and I said to Pat, look, my sister's wedding is on. And he goes, no, I want you at training tonight. So went to training, and then our wedding was on. I'm getting this all mixed up here, but our wedding was on the Thursday.
Right.
And
the night you had training.
The night I had training. And he goes to me, no, I want you at training, like, you know, I need a big match tomorrow. Yeah. So I ended up going to the wedding, staying there at the church part, leaving the wedding, coming back to Dublin, go and train, go back down to the wedding, get me food heated up in the microwave, have the food, and went straight to bed, like, because I was preparing for the match the next day. And that was, you know, when you're looking back and you're saying the sacrifices that you make, you know, it's not only me making them. I don't mind that for myself, but you're asking your whole family then to make those sacrifices as well, like, which is difficult. Yeah. So, but yeah, getting back to the management side of it, as I said, you do make the sacrifice. When I took the step back then, I was like, grand, happy with this. I was playing over 35s for Finglas United, kick about, which is grand.
Probably some of the lads you played around the street back in the day, were you? Like,
there was
years previous.
But the likes of Davy Kane and Paul Kane, these are junior international players that were playing for Finglas United. Stephen Gagan actually said to me, come up and we're having a training session, come up and do it. And I said, oh, all right, I'll go up. And then he says,
playing with them as well, was he?
Yeah, and he goes to me, oh no, I forgot to tell you, it's a match.
Smash some teams, did you?
He said it was a match, and I thought it was a training session. And he goes, here, come on, we're playing a match, and I end up signing for them. But then we end up signing, like, Glenn Crowe signed for us, Gary O'Neill signed for us, Gary Sliney. We had, you know, between junior internationals and senior, you know, League of Ireland players.
I take it there might have been 1 or 2 league medals there, was there?
We won, we constantly won the league. We actually went unbeaten for the season, and our last game was in the Amateur Cup, and the manager decided to change things around and mix it up and play people in different positions. We ended up losing that one game, like, for the biggest cup in Europe. All good. But then I went to Sandy Hill, Shangan after that, played that, and we ended up winning the Amateur Cup and the leagues there as well. So we had good 35s. Yeah. But as I said, when I stopped sort of managing that, I was asked them, my uncle was the chairman of Shell's underage ladies team. He said, look, will you come up and put a few sessions on? So yeah, went up, threw a few sessions on for them. Actually, 1 day a week I was doing it, and I was enjoying it. And then down the line, the manager of the ladies senior team ended up leaving, and he said, look, will you give a dig out just to get someone? Yeah, went in there, and they were a good bit off the pace in the league, and, you know, still in the League Cup. We ended up winning the League Cup, got to the a league playoff against Wexford, and unfortunately one of the girls that day slipped Stephen Gerrard moment, and Wexford ended up winning the league on that playoff game. But again, it was good learning curve, you know, when you're bringing your ideas to the ladies team, and they're rowing in behind it and so on.
Did it feel different having success as a manager versus a player? Was there any?
Yeah, not really. I'd rather player wise, you know, manager is great. You see other people enjoying the success. You know, it's not about me, it's about them, and you can see the smiles on their faces. Whereas me as a player, you know, it was me that was getting that smile, and I'm sure Nutsy and Dermot were just delighted for the likes of me getting it. Then I got a phone call from Joe Casey, asked would I take the Shelbourne manager's role. Kevin Doherty had walked away with me, so I was like, didn't really want to, and I told him, I said, look, I'll do until you get someone in. Went in that day, steadied the ship, ended up grand the following year, won the League Cup.
Was that
won the Leinster Cup.
Was that then part-time? Was it
part-time? Yeah,
work with that?
It was always part-time when I was there. Yeah, and again, you're going back to the thing of training Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, game Friday, weekends. And again, it comes back to your commitments and your, you know, the family life sort of suffers a bit. So like that, we did all right in the season. Following year, then we win the Leinster Cup against Dundalk, a good Dundalk team. So it was the first bit of success that they had in a while. That was grand. I could see the smiles on players' faces, and I started bringing saying, "Look, we can do something." Following year, then we ended up defending the Leinster Cup, beating Pats in Talca, get to the playoffs, beat Drogheda up there 1-0, take it to Talca Park, and then 2 players get sent off and everything. But we took it to penalties, end up losing on penalties. We had 9 men for, I'd say, at least 60 minutes of the game, and then extra time as well. And the lads were absolutely brilliant, like, you know, played out our skin. And unfortunately, ended up losing it on penalties.
And that was that the last game you've had then?
That was the last one out. Yeah.
So a lot of penalty shootout loss was the last game you've managed.
Managing it. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
Right. Okay.
But that was it. Was after that. Then met the owner, new owner, come in, and he sort of wanted to do things a different way. He wanted to, you know, say what players come in, who didn't come in, and sort of wanted more hands on.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Wasn't for me, and so we sort of went our separate ways, and that was that, like, you know.
Yeah, no, it's good. Have you? So now that was how many years ago was that? That was 2018, I think. Was it when you
quite possibly? Yeah.
Okay, so any growth to get back into it since?
No, absolutely none. No, as I said, I enjoyed. Now, you know, mate of mine was managing Glenville, and he asked me would I do coaching sessions there, or, you know, Joey's, can you go down and do it? So I go down to teams. Teams ask me to do training sessions and things that I'll put one on, but no interest in getting back into it.
You like being on the pitch and the coaching side?
I don't mind the coaching, but I don't want to do the commitment side of it either, as in be there, because when my mate was doing Glenville, he's like, you know, you just come in and do one session, and then one session turned to two, and then when you come down to the match, the next one he's playing down in Tralee, and I'm like, hold on, you know, it's getting back into that. So I you know, I said,
pulling you back in. Yeah,
I don't. No, they're definitely not going back into it. And I said it's family life's much better, like, you know, because of it.
Yeah, no, it's a real interesting thing, because like, I think with the family life, you talk about that's a real point in story there about your sister's wedding, but then the upside is like those memories of like your mom being at the way end in Rosenborg, or having your kids on the pitch. I'm sure like when you're different, like some amazing
brilliant memories, like, you know,
amazing memories. So there's a lot of sacrifice there, but then also there's a lot of reward.
But the sacrifice is worth it. I'll be honest, like when you're playing, and that sacrifice is well worth it. Like, and in order to win things, in my opinion, is you have to make those sacrifices along the way.
What do you miss most from your playing career? Is it the crack with the lads being in the dressing room, or is it the buzz from a game day?
I think the buzz of the game, like, you know, what you say, the buzz, like, lead up to the game. It's not a great buzz, because you're like, you have to make sure you know this. But when you play the match and you get into, you forget about everything. That feeling of playing, like, you know, competing against the best outside left in the country, who's going to come out on top, your team against one of the best teams in the country. Like, there's always those little battles in the game.
Who would have been kind of the toughest opponents you've come across over the years? There any stand? I'm sure there's loads.
There's a few. I say
some of them were probably teammates at some stage as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ollie Cattle was good in the sense that, you know,
he's Tipperary, man, was he?
Yeah. So I'd be quick, he'd be quick. Yeah. So I'd catch him, I'd turn around and go down the line with the ball. He'd be running back, you know, and the two of us would be like that, you know. Roy O'Donovan played for Cork. Yeah. He was a hardy fella when you played against him. You knew you were in a battle. Yeah. The same with Killian Brennan's brother, Gavin, 6'4", you know, you're competing with him, and he'd be awkward on elbows. Killian, I used to hate Killian when I played against him. He'd tell you that. Killian, the likes of James Keddy always played as inside left, which is more difficult for a right forward.
You found it tougher, did you?
Yeah, because if you go in there, you're leaving the space behind. So I had it, as I said, with Richie Baker. It was perfect, you know. Richie, you just do this and do that. And as experience came, you knew what to do then when you're marking these players.
Did you like playing with an inside left? So like when you were playing with them, because it gave you more space?
With Richie knew overlap. Yeah. I'd go down the line, and then, you know, Richie would fill in for me. And we had that good rapport, like, you know. As I said, it was great. Richie'd always do it, and he was only 5'8", but my God, could he jump? Yeah. You know, he's like on a trampoline. But Killian, I tell you, I used to loaf the back of Killian's head on throw-ins just to let him know that I was there. So all those little things sort of go out the window now. Like, you don't see it as much. Yeah. Even on, say, when fellas are taking throw-ins, I'd walk backwards and stand their toes, and the automatic reaction from a player when you stand their toes is to push you forward. So when you do that, throw-in comes in, he pushes you forward, referee gives you a free all the time. You know, you hit the back of the head with your head. I'm not saying condone it, but
streetwise,
it was part of the game. Like, you know, you learned as you went along what to do, how to get away with certain things. Like,
and then final question before I let you go, because I'm conscious you've given us great entertainment here. Players you've played with, is there any that stand out for you? Like, I'm definitely not Shelbourne team. There should be a few.
Yeah, well, as I said, Wes Houlihan is probably the best player I played with, but Tony Sheridan as well. Like, you know, come close. Myself and Deco always had this, not argument, but, you know, a discussion to say who's better, you know, Tony, I think. But Tony, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Like Wezzo could turn a game. Wezzo was blind as a bat though when he played. He couldn't see. You had Alan Moore, who was colourblind, and him who was blind, like, you know. I even remember Richie Baker was giving us a lift to the match, and Wezzo needed contact lens, and he stopped in Cabret, and he said, "Look, run in there's a chemist." He actually went into the butcher's, and the butcher had to tell him it was next door. That's true as God. Me and Richie are sitting there, this fella, what's the story with him? You know, and then
he's the star man.
Brilliant. And then even when we played Cork had sort of dark jerseys on, the same sort of shells, like dark colour. And Alan Moore kept passing to Cork players. Right. And Nutsy said, "What are you doing?" Like, he said, "I can't see, Pat." You know, and the same with Pat. Pat can't see either. Yeah. So it's the blind leading the blind at some stages. But yeah, you're looking and say, "Well, brilliant." You know, Richie Baker. Yeah. Desi Baker, who'd wear one yellow boot, one red boot. You know, mix
unheard of at the time.
You know, unheard of the time. But you had so many called Stephen Gagan, quality centre forward. Like, you know, Jason Bourne, probably the best striker I've ever played with.
Do you think? Yeah, because obviously you played with a good field.
Yeah, he had so much. Like, you know, Crowley was brilliant. Crowley could head a ball further than I can kick it. Yeah, that's how good he was, and he was quick, deceivingly quick.
I did my personal training certs actually in DCU, and he was on the course as well. And I always remember, like, this is about 10 years ago. And there was like a ladder session, like a speed session, and the quickness of feet the man had was unbelievable. Everyone used to think that Crowley couldn't run. Because like he's big and stocky. I just remember being blown away. Yeah, he could shift. Jesus Christ.
Not a bother to him. Like, Jay Bourne would be probably lazier than Glenn, but they both knew where the goals were. Like, you know, two out and out strikers that could score for fun. Even as Shells, when the two of them were there, I remember people saying, they can't play together. I think they scored 40, 50 goals between them that year. Like, it's just frightening.
And then, like, with the bigger games, say the pre-season friendlies, or you mentioned your Solskjaer's jersey, or the European games, was there any one that kind of stood out for you? Like, obviously there was that Deportivo team or a serious team.
Yeah, I think they obviously stand out for the opposite reasons. But I remember we played Lille in Lansdowne.
Yeah.
And we were 2-0 down at half time. Went into the dressing room, and there was more than dressing. Nutsy was suspended, so he was up in the stand. Eamon Collins was manager. Next minute there was digging matches going on because of what was happening on the pitch.
Yeah, and so he's not allowed to go back into the dressing room.
He's not in the dressing room.
The stands, yeah.
So Eamon Collins was ringing him, and he's talking to him, and he's like, Pat, they're bleeding, killing each other. They're all boxing the head off each other. Rows going on, digging matches being thrown. Big Derek McGuinness, who was the bounce, or who was the security at the time, 6'7" he is, or whatever. He coming in, he's grabbing players out of the way.
This is all your own teammates in the dressing room together.
Just one of them. We went down to the pitch and we ended up getting back to 2-1.
Right.
And that's something that we needed to do. Glenn Fitzpatrick come on, score 2 goals. Like, it was that one thing there. And that was what, how would you say, that was what good teams were about. That there was something that we knew was missing on the pitch. But when we got into the dressing room, we didn't need a manager to explain it to us. It was sorted out between us. And whether that was a row, a digging match, or wherever it was, we done whatever it took to go back out there and put it right. Like, and I think that always stands out with us, like,
So I can't let you go. Was there a player on that Lille team, or was there a player on any of the other friendlies that?
Sorrison off Rosenborg, I was telling you earlier when James Keddy always reminds me about him today. Every time I see James Keddy, he just keeps reminding me of that one game. He said, remember you got destroyed by your man Sorrison. So that one stands out. But as I said, even going back further in my career to near the start, I remember at Shells and Bowes, at Shells when we were starting out, you used to get money if you were second, third and first in the league. It used to be a bonus. So if you're first, you get so much, second, so much. As the season went on, the same then, if you played in a friendly, you were given money. If you were done this, they were given money. And when I became captain of Shells, like, I got rid of that because I found that you were getting paid to play football, and then you were getting paid to still
twice for the same
job. So we end up taking away all that and say, right, it was all about winning. So when you say about the mentality is, right, we only want a bonus if we win a trophy.
Yeah.
The bonus would be higher than what we would have got.
Yeah.
But it's a gamble by the club and a gamble by the players. So we changed that then at Shells, and I think that's why there was more success.
Yeah, I like
the fact that, look, if you want to,
good mentality.
if you want to win something and you want to get a bonus, you win that League Cup, you win that FAI Cup, or you win the league itself. It's worth more to you. Europe, rather than get paid to play in the game, we said if we win the game and get through to the next round, then there's a bonus. Like, so I end up changing all the sort of course.
That was your call, was it?
Yeah, me and a couple of other players changed that. Like when we went into.
Yeah, it's funny when you lift the bonnet on it. It's no surprise the success you had, and you talk about like the dressing room that was behind the players, if you like. Like, it all makes sense. So look, Owen, absolutely fascinating. Really, really appreciate your time today. And anybody listening to this will take massive value from it. Like, some of the stories there were brilliant. So listen, thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure chatting to you today.
Appreciate that. Thanks for having me over.